Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, wa salatu wa salamu ala Sayyidina Rasulullah, sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Inni usi nafsi wa iyyakum bi taqwallah. Amma ba'd. Alhamdulillah. So today is Jummah, and one of the etiquettes of Jummah obviously is to call the adhan, to sit through the prayer. Oh, by the way, if you guys are eating, you're not supposed to eat, because if you swallow the food while the khutbah goes on, your prayer is invalidated. Because now this is actually considered part of the prayer, the khutbah, and then after that comes the actual salah. So this is as if you're in the middle of the prayer. So I wanted to talk about, I wanted to continue talking about what I was talking about before, about smiling, and the concept of smiling in the Prophet ﷺ, but in the context of this high school and the situation that you're in, right? Don't even for 1 second underestimate the ability to reach out to both Muslims and non-Muslims with smiling, right? Smiling at people, just having a good character. Don't ever think that, like we just wasted all this money on pizza, people kind of came and left, or they only came for the pizza. Don't ever, ever, ever underestimate the power of this type of stuff, right? How did Islam spread, right, in Indonesia? How did Islam spread in India, right? One of the awliya, literally, he used to just have food. That's it. He used to have free food. People used to come through. They'd eat if they wanted to, and sometimes they'd ask him questions. One time somebody asked him, like, why are you always giving free food, right? And he just told them, this is actually part of our tradition, right? This is part of our tradition. It's actually sadaqah, right? In fact, one of the great scholars of Islam, his name is Sheikh Abu Bakr bin Salam, he used to give over 1,000 meals per day. Per day. Over 1,000 meals at his crib, at his house. Imagine at your house, man, you got 1,000 pizza boxes, you know what I mean? People are just coming through and eating pizza, right? And he used to feed the poor, so he used to feed the poor. And don't ever underestimate these small little things, right? You don't know what's gonna happen, and somebody's gonna realize the truth, right? Somebody's gonna realize, because today we're living in a day and age where everybody's being brainwashed. Muslims are terrorists, Muslims are this, and there are some like 0.0001% of Muslims in the world, right? There are wackos, but there's crazy Christians, there's crazy Jews in the world, there's crazy Hindus, right? There's crazy. Every religion, every group has a group of people that are crazy, right? So you don't think that all Muslims are terrorists or this or that, right? How can it be when 1.3 billion people in the world, a quarter of the world's entire population, is Muslim and is growing? It's the fastest growing religion in the world today, right? Statistically, right? If you go into the prison system, it's growing. It's literally crazy. Like Sheikh Hamza went once, 10 people converted to Islam. Another brother went, and like literally 50 people converted to Islam. There's a brother, inshallah, I want to bring him here, and I'll talk to the MSA presidents about this, but if I bring him here, we got to have even more people than we're here there today. I mean, it has to be packed. Like when he went to Doherty, there was over 60 people, right? And I'm actually really appalled at the fact that very few people showed up. Like this is really upsetting that this many people showed up, and I was expecting like 30, 40, 50 people, you know what I mean? Nobody came. Not a single sister came the whole time, right? And perhaps if I didn't go out and I said, yo, free pizza, maybe people would come. That's all it takes, literally. And don't ever think that, people are going to come. Alhamdulillah, it's better for you guys not to eat and to provide the non-Muslims around you with food just so they could come and they could eat that food and they'll remember for the rest of their life. Or even during the day, they'll go back and they'll tell their mom and dad, you know what, I went to this weird thing called MSA, right? I didn't even know what it was. I just went and I had some pizza and some weird guy came and he kept talking about smiling. And he mentioned something about the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, always smiling. And for the rest of his entire life, if somebody's like, oh, that Prophet ﷺ, he's a terrorist, he'll be like, oh man, I remember in high school, I remember that day, literally. And there's people I know who converted to Islam because they remembered way back in the day. There's one Hindu guy, he converted to Islam recently. He said he was friends with a Muslim guy who used to smoke weed all the time, right? And he used to drink alcohol, and they used to smoke weed and alcohol together and stuff. And then one day he asked me, he's like, I'm just curious, in your religion, are you allowed to smoke weed, right? And he's like, nah, man, I'm not supposed to be doing this. So he went and he researched by himself. He checked on the internet. He researched all the things about Islam, and he realized that in Islam you don't drink alcohol, you don't smoke weed, you don't do all this stuff. And he actually converted to Islam. And the Hindu converted to Islam and became a better practicing Muslim than the non-practicing Muslim guy who was smoking weed. And that's what's happening. You'll see it day in day. I see it every week. Muslims today are being replaced, and Allah tells us, right? Allah tells us that if the Muslims of the time, if they don't practice Islam, right? If they start practicing, what's Allah going to do? He'll just replace you. He said, I'll replace them with the people that will actually worship me. That's what's happening. Muslims all around the world, they stop practicing, they start getting involved with sins and this and that. So what's Allah doing? People convert to Islam. One of my friends, he was about to come today. He's actually a Hindu convert. Inshallah, I'll bring him maybe in a week or two. He converted to Islam. He used to go to, I think, Foothill. And he's amazing, mashallah. He changed his name to Ibrahim. You don't have to change your name. That's another thing. If you're not Muslim, there's nothing wrong with the name Daniel. There's nothing wrong with the name Krishna. There's nothing wrong with these names. There's nothing inherently wrong. You don't have to have a quote-unquote Muslim name. They're all good names, right? They're all good names. My friend Sheikh Yahya, his name is John. And he used to tell people all the time, my name is John. Everybody in the neighborhood, they knew him as John. Hey, what's up, John? He's like the shoe sheikh, right? But they'd be like, hey, what's up, John? You know? So where am I going to with this stuff? Don't underestimate these small little tiny things that could be seeds that go into people's hearts, and they'll remember the Muslims in a good light, right? And again, astaghfirullah, forgive me for being harsh. I'm a harsh critic sometimes, just because I've been doing this for a lot of time. But this is amazing, right? It is. If I go to Amador has like half what you guys have, right? MashaAllah, right? Like seriously. So don't get too down and bogged down, but push it, take it to the next level. Don't hesitate. When somebody says, when I'm talking about Islam in school, right? Raise your hand, talk. So I'm talking about Palestine and Israel, raise your hand. Don't be shy. Don't be in the back of the class. You know what I mean? How else are people going to know about this deen? It's a beautiful deen. Don't be ashamed of it. So may Allah forgive us, inshallah. May Allah bless us with being able to understand and have tawfiq, inshallah. قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم. I'm going to end with this one note in terms of dawah. There's a dude. He converted to Islam, and he was a friend of all these other people and stuff like that. And one of my friends, his name was Osama Cannon, and Osama Cannon met this guy, and he was like, "How did you convert to Islam?" And he said, "Oh well, one day I was outside in my backyard, and I looked inside, and I could see all the other backyards, and I saw somebody come out and he prayed in the backyard, and I was wondering what religion is that." And I did my research, and I was like, amazing when I converted to Islam. Based on that, based on the fact that he just saw the dude praying, right? One time I was at San Jose State at the library, and I was praying. I was in front of the middle of the MFK library. I was praying, and this huge motorcycle dude came right next to me. I thought he was gonna knock me out. All I know this, right? After that, I salaamed out, and I talked to the dude. He's like, you're supposed to be praying this way. You're supposed to be praying east, and he just corrected me. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen wa salatu wa salam ala sayyidina Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Rabbana atina fid dunya hasana wa fil akhirati hasana wa qina adhaban nar. Oh Allah Ta'ala, please bless us with the motivation and inspiration.